The show where there are no penalties, nothing is offside, and everything is fair game. This is The Gloves Are Off.
Welcome to The Gloves Are Off. Lance Phillips here in studio with two great guests, Andrew Brethauer from the Lloydminster Source and Chris King from Lakeland Rustlers. How are things in Lakeland?
It's good. We're fired up for second semester, so everyone's ready to go.
Fresh off a trip to Cuba.
Yeah, can you tell? Do I look dark?
Yeah, you look.
Where is your color? Holy.
I think the winter washed it away here over Christmas.
He's borderline translucent.
Well, he shows me all the sunburn pictures and stuff, but he doesn't have a single thing like.
SPF 30, man, every day.
It works.
That's good because I have to go with like SPF 100 pretty much every day. Let's get started. Team Canada into the semis, but to me, they only look semi-good, if you ask me. What say you, Mr. Brethauer?
They're not great. Like, we're so used to these high-powered, score a million goal teams, and I think we're kind of getting away from that because maybe not. We're not getting away from that. Everyone else is catching up. Defensively, every other country's getting better. Goaltending, every other country's getting better. So we're not beating anyone 8-0 anymore. We have to grind out victories. Sweden's now, you hate to say it, the dominant team. They're now the team to beat, and so that's the thing it is. It's not, we're just got so used to those, remember those, like the Tavares, the Eberle years, and we're putting up goals. Now we have to actually have to win a game.
Well, I think you hit it on the head. The rest of the world's caught up, right? Our goaltending is an issue. We got a short leash on our starter and then on our backup. It's a little inconsistent. And now when we make mistakes, teams score on us. Before, in years past when we were dominant, you can make mistakes all day and they weren't getting good scoring chances, and we just can't capitalize. Like you said, that we're not controlling the play as much as we used to.
You and I had talked before the start of the show, and I had stated that in the first few games that Canada played, they looked good. They looked dominant, as a matter of fact. And then in the U.S., I thought they had been exposed a little bit. You made the point that they look good in the third period. What happened against the Czechs?
Yeah, it's funny that USA, heading into the third period, they finally started to get the puck deep, control the play. And for a big chunk of that game, Canada looked, against the Czechs, looked really, really good, except for every time they'd screw up, goal scored on them, right? They dominated play for a while, but then, their mistakes are too obvious right now, and teams are good enough to capitalize on that. And
you're getting to the point now where if they don't start doing that, eventually someone's going to shut down. They're not going to have third periods where you're scoring 2-3 goals and just be like, okay, we can win a game. You're going to have to win a game in the first period because someone's going to blow you out. If you look how great Sweden's playing, like 40 games they've won in the round robin without losing, that's where they're at. And so I think if you get up against a team like Sweden and you're down going the third period, you're done. This isn't going to be like, oh, we're going to make a comeback. You're done. Yeah. Teams are just too good now to be letting up leads.
Even if they can beat Sweden, do you expect to see them get past the U.S. or Russia? It's more than likely we're talking the U.S. here. I doubt there's a chance Russia's getting into that final.
They probably can. It's when you get to Canada-U.S., it's Canada-U.S. and that's a toss-up as ever going to be. They're pretty evenly matched teams. I don't think it is a toss-up. You don't know who you're going to get, but it's getting by Sweden, and that's the challenge. And I don't see them getting by Sweden. Not the way they're playing right now, not the way with the rotating goaltending they're playing, and now with having to rotate defensemen because of injuries. That's going to be a very tough match, and they have to play perfect and stay out of the box. That's got to be their biggest thing.
Yeah, I was going to say goaltending special teams is what's going to win the semis and the finals for whoever that is.
Talking about a challenge, I'd say a big challenge in Montreal was getting people out to the game. I mean, it's interesting because the talk right now is that ticket prices are just a bit too high, but that was incredible, what we saw or what we actually didn't see in Montreal. What a sparse crowd at those games,
But it was like that 2 years ago, and they didn't learn. It was the exact same. I remember after 2 years ago, everyone was writing about how terrible it was, and there was no fan support. It was sparse crowds, overpriced, and then they went and did the same thing again. And it's like, well, you just did it twice, and you're wondering why it didn't work? Putting it in a market like that is the worst thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I've touched on this before. I know you guys are from the East, so I don't want to offend you guys, but you put that in Western Canada, Manitoba, Sask, Alberta, it's always sold out every game. I remember going to see the Swiss play in Saskatoon, and it was packed, right? Everyone's buying their ticket packs for the week, and it's hard to watch games, Canada especially, but even some of the other good teams like Sweden games, and the building's only half full. This is basically NHLers galore playing in their 20s, and we talked about it. They make mistakes, they screw up, and there's awesome flow to the game, and people just aren't paying to see it, and it's not as much as an NHL game.
Is this an issue of this this tournament needs to move away from the Ontario-Quebec market? Does this need to move further west?
I don't know if it needs to move west. It just needs to be in better markets in Ontario. And Toronto is a terrible market for junior hockey. It never works and it never will because there's so many professional things there.
It is terrible for junior,
Yeah.
but what about Canada, Canadian hockey, Canada hockey?
I
It
don't think
seems
it's-
to always be good in that regard.
Yeah, like in terms of.
Just it garners lots of people come out to those games, whether it's World Cup.
But that's what I mean. If you move it out of, like if you're talking about Ontario, Quebec, if you move it out of those places, like if London, Ontario is a great example of a place I think you could put in. Even Ottawa, I think, could be a better option because they have that junior presence. You have people who are committed. You said Saskatoon, Edmonton, they have junior teams. People go to that because they recognize their players, whereas Toronto doesn't have a junior team. Montreal doesn't have a junior team. So you're trying to get people who aren't used to going and watching that to make them come and watch it. They're not going to come.
And I would argue the different point, I'd argue that you're putting it in 2 of our 3 biggest cities in Canada, right? When you put it in what we would call as Canadians mid-major markets, right? Like Edmonton, Calgary, Saskatoon, Winnipeg, wherever you want to put it, even if you put it on the East Coast, you're going to sell out because it is a big deal to them. For a major market like Toronto, Montreal, how much other stuff's going on that people are doing, whether it's arts or community. So I just think there's so many options.
And just look at what just happened. We just had the Centennial game. So if I'm going to spend a bunch of money, and that game was priced crazy too. Well, if I'm going to spend money for my kids to go, say, give them a gift, am I going to give them World Junior tickets and maybe not see Canada play, or am I going to give them Centennial and watch Toronto, Detroit in an outdoor classic? Yeah. There's options, and there's too many in a city like Toronto and Montreal. Smaller markets like Ottawa's mid-size, I'd say. London would be perfect, but they don't want to go to that. They want the big city. So
this to me, this tournament needs to move further west. It needs to come out to a Vancouver market. It needs to come out to a Calgary market, and utilize the other parts of this country to get an experience of that tournament. Because I agree that this tournament needs to move outside of Ontario for a change.
It's been there though. Like it's been to Saskatoon, it's been to Edmonton before. Like it's been in this market, so I just don't understand why they did it back to back, and that like I could see doing it. I think
it's easier to sell to other countries, right? When you say it's Toronto, Montreal, like it's a bigger sell to outside of Canada, whereas Canada, hockey's hockey, and there's stronger hockey areas in smaller cities. But like when you're selling it to the world, Toronto, it's our biggest city, multicultural, blah blah blah, right? I think that's how they sell it from Hockey Canada's standpoint.
Well, they've got work to do, that is for sure. Coming up next on The Gloves Are Off, Ronda Rousey did not look very good. We'll just say that. That's next. The Gloves Are Off. Welcome back to The Gloves Are Off, sports fans. It's time to talk Ronda Rousey. That was ugly. We'll just say that. Was that ugly or... Well, she was ugly afterwards. It looked like she'd been beaten.
She got beat up.
Looks like her face looked like a piece of hamburger meat. It was pretty disastrous.
Wow.
Where are we going with her? Like, where is she going in the world of MMA, Mr. King?
I think she's retired, man. I don't think she's going to be around much longer. I think she was so hyped up by UFC, and I think she was a creation of Dana White to get the female side of the sport and get the popularity. And obviously, she was really, really good. Now you're at the stage where all the other females have caught up and are better, and you have better athletes, bigger, stronger, and she got her butt kicked.
Yeah,
bad,
big time.
Bad, like worse than last time. And I don't see her coming back from this. I don't know.
This segment has already lasted longer than her fight, by the way. So just so we know.
Well said. Well said.
And then you take a year and 3 months or whatever she took off, and then try to come back against a champion. Of course you're going to get beat. Like we're watching. Like we literally could watch the entire fight right now on this whole while I talk. This is great.
It was unbelievable.
It's going to be over.
She took, like you said about the Holly Holm fight. That was a worse beating than she took against Holm. Holm was a one kick, and that was the end of it. Of course, after she didn't speak in the interview following the fight, immediately following the fight, but then after the fight, she did have something to say. She said to fans, we can see on the monitor there right now, and I kind of agree with you here, Chris, that she is done. Like, I think this is the end of her career.
I'm not a big fan also when athletes, like, everyone puts into work to everything they do. And when you lose a fight, whether you're knocked out or not, I think it's your obligation to give a statement after. Like, you just got your butt kicked. Like, it's okay to say that you got your butt kicked. You don't need to wait 3 days to do it or whatever it was. I think that's part of being an athlete. And let's be honest, she got paid a lot of money to do this fight and get her butt kicked in 36 seconds or 40 or whatever it was. So
I believe it was $3 million.
yeah, like, okay, I can at least give my statement. That's part of their contract with UFC. But I don't see her coming back from this. I just think her ego's done. What's she going to prove? Like, she's not Floyd Mayweather. She's not going to come back in a year and be amazing. I don't.
Well,
see
she's
it
kind of Floyd Mayweather. She does beat women. Similar.
Wow.
She's kind of Floyd
This is where
Mayweather.
we're
Yeah,
going
this
with
is a hot take here.
This is where we're going with the show. It's
The gloves are off, boys.
Yeah.
Come on.
finally. It's been 2 years. It's you can't say she's coming back. Like, what does she have to prove now? And you ask that question not from somebody who won, but from somebody who lost. What more do you have to prove? You didn't win your title fight, or you lost the title. You didn't win it coming back. Where do you go now? Who do you fight? You didn't beat the champion. Do you fight in a number one contender, or do you fight some other woman coming up? Like, you're out of opponents in a sense because you don't have the next marquee level of opponent to fight. It's not like when with the men's roster, there's so many guys you could fight. You can battle your way back up into a title. With her, it looks like she's so far down now that there's no next opponent for her to go.
It's amazing how when Ronda Rousey was on top of this whole women's side of UFC, how strong she was and how much more powerful she was than the other competitors. But Amanda Nunes showed that she is no longer, like, the striking power of Nunes was unbelievable. I couldn't get over how hard she was hitting. And she's not the only one.
Yeah.
They're all coming along, and like you said, she's fading into the background.
So the other thing that you notice in watching that fight again, the 40 seconds, confidence is such a huge piece with athletes,
Right.
and I'm not convinced she was confident that she was going to win that fight. I think if she's smart, she's going to parlay her success from UFC into other avenues and just say, look, I'm done. I think she knows she's not at that level, and
Right.
and the confidence of both fights she lost, her fighters had a chip on her shoulder. I don't know if she has that anymore, that chip on her shoulder.
What does she have to prove?
Exactly.
And the thing is, it's not a bad thing. If you look at the overall UFC and women's fighting, it's not bad that she's done. Or she was there for what she did. And I just think everything has evolved so fast. And I don't think anyone expected the women's MMA to evolve to the point that it is now, where there was no competition when she first started. Now there's a ton of competition. And it's just, maybe it's taken off, and then she's done so much other stuff that she hasn't maybe able to keep up. Like, who knows how much training she does, and I don't want to be saying that, but it's evolved. In the time from when she started, when that division started, to now, it's night and day different.
And
So
she's the OG. Like, she is.
She's a godfather.
She is. She's the godmother, actually.
Yeah.
She is the godmother of that sport, especially on the female side.
Yeah,
I mean,
and you
she
needed
has.
someone.
It is what it is today because of what she did.
and you have to, and it's gone so quickly, so fast that, you know what, that happens in sports. Sometimes players get so far advanced, and you have to move on. So I think she's done what she did. The UFC should thank her with a lot more money probably for what she did for it, but the sport needs to move on and now create that division and flesh it out more, so it's not just a one fighter, move on to the next one, now that one fighter, move on to the next one, because you don't want that as a division. You want to compact 3, 4, 5 women in that division killing each other, basically. That's what you want.
And that's essentially where it's going.
Yeah.
NFL, MVP. We got to make a decision. Here and today, we are the ones who are going to decide the NFL MVP. I originally had Brady, Rodgers, and Matt Ryan. But the more I think about it, the more I think, I'm not sure Tom Brady has a spot in this discussion, considering a guy that you said, Mr. King, before the show. Who's high on your radar?
Well, I would give it to Matty Ice, personally.
Ooh.
I think he would be my MVP. He got 38 touchdowns, 310 yards a game. But the other guy that I think, when you think of MVP, you think, what is that team like if you put a league average player in that person's spot?
Fair.
And that's why I think Matt Ryan does so much for his team. Tom Brady playing 12 games, you can't compare it to how many ever he's going to end up playing. Compared to the other guys, you can't compare that. But Ezekiel Elliott, to me, has done so much for his team. If you put an average running back there, how good are the Cowboys? They're still good, but do they win that many games? I don't know. I'm not convinced. So Ezekiel Elliott's right in that mix for me. That's the guy that I got to consider.
See, the Brady thing, I have no problem him just playing 12 games, because what he's done with who he's had has been outstanding. Like, if you compare what Matty Ice has and Brady, I will take that roster of the Falcons any day to throw balls to and just hope I'm going to do a lot.
But look at New England's, like, who they played.
Oh,
If you put any other QB in that spot, they still win a ton of games,
But
right?
the other person, and then everyone goes to Elliott, but I don't even think him. No one talks about David Johnson, what he's doing in Arizona. He's another guy. If you actually compare, he actually has better stats than Elliott, but I think because Elliott's the star, the big name, the Dallas, everyone talks about him. No one's talking about David Johnson, what he's doing.
Very interesting.
He was the most hyped for sure, yeah.
Yeah, and it's it's actually weird because like you saw it on someone was posted on Twitter or something where they show the stats for Elliott, and then Johnson has less fumbles, more yards, like more TDs or something like. There's a bunch of things he had more of, but nobody's talking about him at all. And yeah, you take him out, you put an average player. Arizona's not in the playoffs today. We're not even talking about them at all. So
that's who you got.
I would, if I had to go with outside the box, I'll go with David Johnson. The 3 quarterbacks is what everyone's talking about, and that's what's going to come down to. And it'll probably go to Brady because everyone has a thing for, we played 12 games and did so well. Should go to Matty Ice. But
you got Matty Ice.
I got Matty Ice.
Out of those 3, I'd say Matt, but I'd say David Johnson should be in consideration.
I got Aaron Rodgers, and I strictly have Aaron Rodgers. We got to go to break here, but I've got Aaron Rodgers because he did more with less injuries, and he could win a Super Bowl this year. Next, on the Gloves Are Off, over-under, Andrew Brethauer's favorite game. They're off, fellas. What we saw last night in the Rose Bowl, I know we didn't get to it as a discussion today as much as I would have liked to. That was probably one of the best Rose Bowls ever, if not the best Rose Bowl ever. And it is the best college football game so far of the season. So this over-under is completely dedicated to the 2017 Rose Bowl.
This is a Penn State thing here, isn't it?
It could be a Penn State thing.
Is there jail bars up there?
All right, question number 1. It ranks second in the history of the Rose Bowl for total yards of offense between the two teams. How many yards of offense was there in total in last night's game? We'll start with you, Mr. King.
Oh my God. Okay, since I didn't watch it, so I'm setting the line for Andrew here. Let's say 888.
Over.
It is over. It was 1,141 yards.
It's college football.
total
You
I
got
saw the
offense.
score. It was like a CFL game without the Rouges. Like, ridiculous.
101 points were scored in the game. It is the highest, the most ever in a bowl game. What was the previous highest in history? What was the total?
95.
Over or under?
Oh, I got to say under. It's got to be.
It was under. It was actually 83 yards. Or 83 yards, 83 points.
That's still a lot of points.
It's still a ton of points. It's still a ton of points. All right.
Even.
Sam Darnold, who was the quarterback for USC, had an incredible game. He had 453 passing yards in total. But how many yards of total offense did Sam Darnold have? We'll start with you, Mr. King.
Assuming that this shootout, let's say he got 600 yards. I'm going to say he ran on the ground big time.
Say under.
It was under. It was 473. So let me get
That was
straight.
a trick
You thought he
question.
ran for
I did.
150
I
yards?
did. I'm thinking with that kind of shootout, he must have been airing it out. So I thought he had a couple runs for touchdowns.
That's amazing.
That's a
All
brutal
right.
question, by the way.
That was
But
a brutal question.
brutal answer by me.
All right. What was the temperature at kickoff in Pasadena, California? Mr. Brethauer.
Oh,
Is this Fahrenheit or Celsius?
yeah. What we
This
do?
is in Fahrenheit.
Oh.
It was the
Here we-
coldest. It was the coldest since 1974.
All right. Let's do some math here. Let's say. We'll say it was like 11 Celsius, which is 22, 52.
I'm going to say over.
Over is correct. It was 55 degrees.
That's pretty good.
Very good.
Pretty close.
We go
That
from
was
the
pretty
worst
close.
answer
All right.
to really good.
The tiebreaker is coming up right now. Are you guys ready for this?
Oh, I'm ready. I'm bombing
right.
this.
USC gave up its longest run of the year, longest run of the season, to Saquon Barkley of Penn State in this game. It was for a touchdown. How many yards was this run? Mr. Brethauer.
That's it, man.
Part of
Oh,
it.
it's me from the line of scrimmage.
Shows that we didn't watch the game.
Yeah, no. I was watching something else.
That's disappointing.
85.
85.
Oh, I was gonna say 86. I'm going over. I'm taking the odds.
It is actually under. It would have been the correct call. 79. 79
big.
yards. And guess what, Mr. King? For the second time since
Yeah.
you 2 for 2 now in the sound off. That's you.
That's
You're gonna have that.
Yep.
It's coming up in a couple of segments. But next we got some fair or foul, and you guys have lined up the questions today. Something not to be missed, and that is coming up next on The Gloves Are Off. Welcome back to The Gloves Are Off. It's Fair or Foul. We're going to have a little fun with Fair or Foul today. You guys brought in your own statements. We're going to start with you, Mr. Brethauer. You apparently have a beauty lined up. So I'm looking forward to hearing what this is.
Well, since you just got here and since I'm kind of almost on my way out.
What do you mean kind of almost on your
I'm
way out?
probably on my way out now. Let's be honest. So what did I didn't care what I said, but
right.
Let's just go with,
You can
I'm just going to read it
like.
because I forget what I wrote. Okay, so I think I've done a pretty good job here the last 4 years of sports. Chris can attest to how great I've done.
How great.
I've had to been on at least
Yeah.
10 times with you. You were definitely average, for sure.
Well, so I say that Lance will not be able to reach my level of hype.
Ooh, hype.
Oh, my word.
So that's the fair foul? I'm saying foul because I don't know how high the bar is. Like,
It's billboard high. That's how high it is.
He set the bar here, but when you stand up, that bar is only about mid-chest. So
there you go. I think it will be an interesting turn, yeah. I'll say foul. We'll see. Depends what happens next. Who's sitting in that seat from now on?
he's gone foul. You know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say that you have set the bar high, Mr. Brethauer. You set it very high. The people of Lloydminster are fully aware of how high this bar has been set, but that statement is foul because I am going to bring the people the sports that they require for as long as I live here.
This has been rehearsed. He did this in the mirror this morning.
Oh, yeah. I
Sure he
rehearsed
did.
this 100 times in the mirror.
He's like,
at
sit in the
home.
mirror, I don't suck. I don't
Yeah,
suck every
yeah,
morning. That's,
yeah. And then I went and cried in the corner. Yeah, and in shame. All right. You are up next, Mr. King.
So mine isn't personal. Fair foul on the Cavaliers repeating this year as world champions.
That's a fair. There's nobody that's going to touch those guys. Absolutely nobody can touch the Cleveland Cavaliers.
So do you think it's because what you saw in the Christmas game, like against Golden State, like how they looked, or what do you think?
I just think that they're doing it. LeBron wasn't there last game or game before, and they still picked up the dub. They're going to do it with him in the lineup. There's no stopping them. The only way they get stopped is if he can't play, if he's injured or something like that. But there's no way.
yeah, healthy LeBron. It's hard to bet against a guy who's been, how many seasons now has he played in the final? Like 6 in a row or whatever it is? Yeah. I think I think there's going to be a repeat champion this year, and I don't think there's a better one to start with would be the Cavaliers, Penguins as well, but I think there'll be a repeat too, so yeah.
We got a repeat champion in studio right now. You know who it is? It's this guy right here, Sound Off, coming up next because he is 2 for 2 in over-under. We'll be back when the Gloves Are Off. All right, back to the Gloves Are Off. Sound Off. Floor is yours, Mr. King.
All right, two things. First thing, obviously our basketball Lakeland men and women back home on Friday, starting the second semester off. And the second thing I want to talk about is actually a promo for you two guys. 7 a.m. he was in our gym this morning doing media session, and yesterday Andrew was in on his day off. So it's kind of amazing the work that you guys put in behind the scenes. I'm sure everyone just sees this glamorous faces here in the afternoon. But not only do the teams work hard, but so do the reporters. So really good job from you guys.
Wow, that is appreciated.
Didn't even have to pay him for that either.
That was so appreciated. You've been watching The Gloves Are Off. For Andrew Brethauer and Chris King, I'm Lance Phillips. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in a week.